So this is how I built a $42,000 a month business working roughly 15 hours a week for the last couple of years, but more specifically a $20,000 to $25,000 a month in profit business, which I think is the most important number. I'm going to break this down for you year by year and how you can just replicate the exact same thing in arguably the clearest way possible. You've probably heard my story before, but just for a little bit more context, it's a real estate lead gen and appointment setting company. So it's a very, very simple offer. And of course I'm biased, but in my opinion, the easiest business model someone watching this could start just tomorrow is an agency of some kind. Back in early 2022, when I started this thing, my time wasn't worth very much. And when you just freelance, you're going to get matched with that time. You're even with that. When someone wants to pay you, that's when you actually do the work. Versus, say, an e-com brand selling t-shirts, for example, you will be in the hole for a few $1,000s just on the inventory alone before you even make your first dollar, not even counting ads, fulfillment, etc., which is why I think agency is just the easiest model to start. Let's dive right into this and where the numbers really come from. Again, started this thing in early 2022. I was in a very unique position to where I could either work with the biggest customer we had at the time or go and start my own because I got my boss's blessing. He actually let us have the reins to be like, hey, I'm shutting this thing down. I made my money. I had a kid. I just want to get out of this thing. And I took that road. I'm like, I'm doing this. This is my moment. This is the time where I could actually really run with this damn thing. And I made it. And that's where we really started to I inherited the old clients that I used to work with. They were very interested in starting with me. And I secured, luckily, my first 10 to 12 grand a month in freelance contracts just by reaching out to my entire old database. So I was in a very unique, very fortunate situation to where I just did that, where I worked at a company for 4 years. I built a really good network within that. And then that basically spawned my first few customers. So towards the basically just focused, I just freelanced that whole entire year. I was working like a dog. I was working 12 hours a day doing all the calls, all the setting, all the ads, running myself. But towards the end of that year, it was around end of summer is when I actually started to really feel the fruits of that. I closed my biggest customer, which is $4,000 a month, which doesn't sound crazy. It still isn't to me. But that one client paying the same or more than my entire salary back working in 2021 was insane. So that was really eye-opening to me. And I ended off that year making around 310, 320 gross. And I had saved after taxes, after everything, all expenses, softwares, everything. By the end of that tax season, I had 120 grand in my checking account, which was crazy to me. And I wasn't doing much investing, full transparency here, because at the time, dude, like when you quit your job, you'll understand. It's fight or flight mode. Like I'm just trying to stack 100 grand liquid so I just know I'm okay, right? So that's where the, position that I was in, at least at that time. This is when I still also had most of my money tied up in my house. So seeing this was a huge win. And before I get into 2023, price raise on these consult calls is happening next Wednesday, April 23rd. If you've wanted to talk about freelancing, starting a business, content, monetizing content, please book a call. I've had a ton of success this past week. I've booked, a ton with you guys, so I appreciate that. Price will be going up soon, so do that before that happens. 2023. This was our peak for sure. I was just so many, heads were in the air. So many things were going, wrong, but also good. Our peak here was 65 to 70 grand a month. And I'm going to throw up screenshots for all this kind of stuff, but this was, our peak. I focused on really high value customers, chased more like enterprise level clients, if you will, with high budgets, high lead flow, really focused on hiring to buy my time back. And I got through 2 to 3 really crappy setters to get to one really good one. And she's still with me to this day. She's an absolute shark. She was expensive though. And this is what steered me wrong, was like, crap, do I really want to do this? Like, do I have the reins to go ahead and pull this trigger? And I just did it. And it was the best thing I ever did, right? So I really focused on buying my time back, worked a lot less, made a lot more. Cold email was our main acquisition method at this point because obviously my network had dried up. So cold email was ripping. I'd use Built With, which was a really awesome source website, and a few cold email sending softwares to really scale this thing. And things were going crazy. And the referrals were also coming in too because we were doing great work. This is where I just hammered out case studies. I think I got like a total of 20 case studies that year, which was insane. Video, full review testimonials. So that was awesome. 2024, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be full transparent. This was a tougher year for sure, like lower overall revenue, but still actually the same level or a little bit, tad bit smaller percentage of profit. I have been like ruthless with expenses, and I watched every single dollar going out where I could cut and was just like neck and neck. I got that from Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller. He was ruthless with that. I took one thing out of his memoir, his biography, and it's really served me well. I still use this to this day, not only in my personal life, but more so in business. You need to be ruthless with cutting your expenses and just being careful with that. This is a huge problem that I also ran into, which was procrastinating running ads and not nurturing the leads that I already had properly. I didn't have an email nurture software. So if someone wasn't a 1-call close or maybe even a 2-call close, and they were just like, yeah, maybe follow up with me in 6 months, 12 months, and maybe interested in these services, they never heard from me again. I was horrible at managing my CRM. I used Close, which was a great CRM tool. So it was totally on me. It was totally my fault. But then just recently, towards the end of that year, I got an email sending nurture software kind of set up towards like, hey, I could stay in touch with these people. I could send the new case studies. So that was a huge breakthrough for me. So that was a big mistake. I know for a fact I lost tens of thousands of dollars doing that. And then, like I said earlier, I just procrastinated running ads. I thought I was against ads. I thought it was sexy to be like, yeah, all this is organic. It's like, dude, all the biggest billion-dollar, trillion-dollar corporations literally run ads. Why do you think it's the most efficient way to get new customers? And it's like, well, I didn't understand that at the time. So I made a huge, huge mistake, which was okay. And now 2025, where are we today? I'm still running this thing over 3 years, which a lot of guys are these Miami kids, they'll make $100,000 a month, maybe once or, 6 months in a row, and then they crash and burn. They spend all their money on a Lambo. Dude, I've just been focused on preserving my cash. I'm going to get into like the exact steps of what you can follow to replicate. Obviously, it's not, just copy this, but it's not going to be different. It's going to be different for your story. It's not going to be the exact same as mine, but overall, where I'm at today, as I'm filming this in April 2025, it's the most profitable we've ever been from a percentage point. Extremely lean team. It could even get a little bit leaner actually, and we're finally starting paid ads, which is awesome. And it's been the biggest lever that we could pull. You want to be able to turn your dollar into 4 or 5. That's literally what paid ads is at scale, is taking a dollar, putting into this machine of Facebook, Meta, and YouTube, or Google, whatever, and turning it into $4 or $5 back, sometimes even more, right? But that spread is amazing. That's where you really make your money. So I'm working on, some new offers, and I'm going to be transparent too. I'm a bit bored. I don't hide the fact that I'm 100% in this agency thing for the money. And that happened right around summer of 2023. I don't know, man. It's boring. It's the same thing. But when I see that check at the end of every month hit the account, or when I see that account growing, I know I'm on the right track. It's like, listen, I just got to keep this thing. It would be financially irresponsible for me to quote unquote shut this thing down or be FOMO'd into another, opportunity. So for right now, I'm doing this thing, and I don't hide that. So I'm not very passionate. I built a solid enough position that, God forbid, if something were to happen tomorrow financially with this business or whatever, I'm totally cool, right? And I do, side note, this before I get into what you can do to replicate this, I want to start a bunch of agencies. I've thought of acquiring agencies. I have a ton of cash on the sidelines for that very reason. I know I'm kind of spewing off here. This isn't very beginner level talk, but there is a lot of money in buying businesses, stuff that already exists, that has an active customer database, that has active revenues coming in, versus me starting this whole thing and wasting another 2 to 3 years. I could just buy a business that has already been proven, already been established and successful, to fast track my way. So that's what I'm really focusing on. Now, I may make this full transparency. I may make this a separate video, but business agency ideas for you and how you can start today, tomorrow, whatever. Number one, step one, if you have industry expertise in a specific field, whether that's contractors, whether that's freaking like me, real estate, whether that's lawyers, try and obviously start an agency within that. Since of course you already know the lingo, you already know how to speak their language, you already know the objections your customers will have, et cetera, et cetera. If you're a straight beginner, try to, ride the wave or trend right now. If you have no work experience, just try to find something that is already established or blowing up. I'm going to use the buzzword here, of course. AI is obviously the easiest one. Do AI for a very specific vertical doing a very specific task, right? So for example, an AI agent implementation service for lawyers, right? Have it book all their appointments, feed their customer data in an automated way, follow up with their leads, right? Do all the paperwork. I don't know. There is serious money. I'm actually contemplating starting an agency from scratch, filming the whole damn thing just to prove it. And, really give the honest reins, be like, hey guys, this is possible. Like I'm going to do this part-time just to show how it does. But anyways, won't get too ahead of myself. Number two, Lead with your customer acquisition first. Wake up every single day for the next 90 days saying, where is my next customer coming from? And boom, that's all you're going to do. Cold email, cold DM, cold call. I don't care. All of this can be done for free. Just do it to land your first 3 to 5 clients, or what I like to say, your first 3 to 5 case studies, and work for free until you have to. This is what I say on my consults too. I give obviously a further roadmap. I'm not going to, totally ungatekeep everything. I'm going to keep a couple things hidden, but like if you work for free enough until you can't, you are going to be forced to be able to charge a high ticket amount. But until then, dude, like I said, your time isn't worth very much. If you're a straight beginner, you've never proven this before. So you can't blame the business for not wanting to hire you for X, Y, and Z thing, right? So just be very careful with that. Sometimes a case study is worth more than whatever retainer they're going to pay you anyways, right? You need proof. You need video proof that you can say what you're going to do. Number 3, is just the last point, do the fulfillment yourself until you get to minimum $10,000 a month. Okay, you're going to learn a ton. Too many people want to get out of the weeds way too quickly that they don't even have any customers to begin with. They're thinking about a logo, a business website, t-shirts. It's like, dude, you need customers. That is your lifeblood. That is your oxygen. Okay, so learn the process so that when you do what I did and hire, you're going to be able to go much further and actually teach that role and know, hey, I know what goes wrong. I know how to do this. You can't just come into my business and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just going to waste your time, because I've had employees do that. But I know the process of what I'm hiring my employees to do. So I say, hey, you're not doing this right. You're taking way too much time here on X, Y, and Z project, right? So that's kind of it summed up. Like I said, I might make a separate video on this. I think it's huge right now. I think there's massive potential. Agencies are not going anywhere. I think you just have to ride the wave, as best as you can. So as always, if you made it this far, I want to see you in. Comment below if you've got questions or businesses that you're starting, and we'll see you in the next one.